Someone had to say something, and it fell to me between bursts of laughter to shout for everyone on the shore to hear, "Someone get this bitch out of here before we catch something." The pleasure I felt seeing her eyes fill with tears was indescribable. I turned away, patting my partner on the shoulder. To me, she was already invisible, just another insect I'd squashed without even looking at the sole of my Italian shoe. That night, the feeling of power was intoxicating. I was at my peak, toasting with expensive champagne in my luxury apartment, with the city lit up at my feet. That woman's face was already a distant memory, drowning in successes and new achievements. I never imagined that fate, or the irony of the universe, was just beginning to laugh in my face. But life, oh life, has its own scripts, and mine was about to take a brutal detour, starting with news that caught me by surprise the next day. The next morning, sun beat down on the glass of my 30th floor office, but the city's glare didn't calm me. An urgent call from my COO, Marcelo, had soured my mood. The Golden Coast project, the largest investment of my career, the crown jewel of my empire, was stalled. A court injunction out of nowhere, filed by a small environmental NGO that no one knew about until yesterday. I laughed dismissively. "Buy them, Marcelo. Offer whatever it takes. Everyone has a price." The pause on the other end of the line was too long. "That's the problem, Ricardo. They don't want money. The financier behind them, she asked for a meeting, in person with you. That's the only condition for even discussing the matter." I huffed, irritated at having to waste my time with some dreamy activist. I got the address, one of the most luxurious office buildings in the capital, which intrigued me. Upon arrival, I was guided down a marble hallway to a pair of oak double doors. The secretary announced my arrival and opened the door, revealing a room with a view even more spectacular than mine, and sitting behind the imposing mahogany desk, with a gaze that held neither hatred nor fear, but pure, icy power, was she, the woman in the floral dress. Only now she was wearing a designer pantsuit and holding the pen with which she could sign my downfall. She looked at me, and there was not a shred of emotion in her eyes, only the coldness of someone staring at a rock in the road. The silence in the room was so heavy it could almost be touched. I felt a chill run down my spine, something I, Ricardo Albuquerque, had never felt before. Fear. My body, accustomed to commanding respect, froze. The pen in her hand, once a mere object, now felt like a gun pointed directly at my head. She finally spoke, her voice calm without the slightest change, but with a tone that cut through the air more than any shout. "Mr. Albuquerque, welcome to my office. I imagine you're surprised." I tried to gather the words, but my throat felt dry. What are you doing here? What kind of game is this?" She smiled, a small, almost imperceptible smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Game, Mr. Albuquerque? There's no game, just business. I'm the president of the Green Life Group, the organization that, as you may know, is embarking on your little adventure on the Gold Coast." She paused, and each second felt like an eternity. "And, curiously, I remember you, from that night on the beach. Me, the Catraya, as you so kindly called me." The air thinned in my lungs. The words I had spoken with such contempt now came back to haunt me, echoing in that sumptuous room. She stood, walked slowly to the window, her back to me, and continued, her voice even more distant and icy. "Now, Mr. Albuquerque, the question is, what are you willing to do to keep your project from crumbling to dust?" Her question hung in the air, heavy and sharp. My mind, accustomed to calculating figures and business strategies, short-circuited. I regained a shred of my arrogance and forced a sneer. "Okay, I get it. Nice move. Name your price. How much do you want to get rid of this shell NGO of yours?" She looked at me like I was a sullen child and let out a low, humorless laugh. "Price? Mr. Albuquerque, you still don't get it. Your money, to me, is worth the same as that laugh of yours on the shore. It's despicable." She leaned closer, and for the first time I saw something beyond the coldness in her eyes. It was a strength I hadn't known. "I don't want your money. I want your soul." My blood ran cold. "What I want," she continued, "is an apology, public. In the same place where you humiliated me, you will kneel and beg forgiveness. Then you will donate 50% of your company's annual profits to a fund supporting vulnerable women. And finally, you will work for a month serving meals at the shelter your donation will fund." I exploded. "You've got to be crazy. I'd rather see my empire burn than submit to this nonsense." She stared at me, and the cold smile returned to her lips. "I figured you'd say that." She picked up a tablet from the table and turned it to me. On the screen were documents, spreadsheets, recordings, irrefutable evidence of every tax fraud, every bid-winning contract, every crime I committed to build everything I had. The Golden Coast project was just bait to bring you here, Ricardo. My investigation into you began over a year ago. Either you accept my terms, or these files reach the federal police in 10 minutes. The world collapsed. I had no way out. I looked at the woman I had called a cat, and there, cornered and destroyed, I understood that she hadn't just taken my project. She had stolen my future. Today, the scent that surrounds me isn't that of Italian leather or aged whiskey. It's the smell of soup, warm bread, and disinfectant. My designer suit has been traded for a white apron, and my hands, which once signed million-dollar contracts, now hold a ladle to serve dinner. I fulfilled every one of her demands. The humiliation of kneeling on that same shore, with cameras recording every second, was the death of the man I was. I lost my empire, my status, my friends. I lost everything I thought mattered. Every night, I see hundreds of tired, anonymous faces in the cafeteria line, the same faces I used to ignore from the window of my armored car. And among them, sometimes, I think I see her face, not with the powerful gaze of the office, but with the frightened eyes of that night. Helena didn't destroy me. She emptied me, drained all the poison from me, and forced me to look at the man that remained. And what's left is still learning to live. And you? Would you have the courage to take justice into your own hands? Comment below what you would do in her place.